Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Collecting Vintage Unopened podcast. My name is Brandon Stewart. This is a podcast devoted to discussing anything and everything in regards to the collecting of vintage unopened sports and non-sports cards. And today it's just me, no guest today, but I'm going to be hopefully engaging with a topic that many of us that collect sports cards, whether they're in the original packaging or whether they're actually graded or whatever, we can all maybe find this topic relevant, and that's the state of the market. Many other YouTube channels have discussed the state of the sports card market, the fact that prices are on many items down and sometimes down substantially from where they were in the past, especially at the height of the pandemic, when we were seeing a real surge in the demand for sports cards. And I certainly think that the unopened market right now, the vintage unopened market, is weak, right? But it's weak only for certain parts, certain sections of unopened. I think that collectors have realized that there's still a lot of unopened product out there for certain years, right? It's important to keep in mind, right, when we're trying to discuss the vintage market, that yes, there's a diminishing supply of unopened, but not all unopened is opened at the same frequency, right? Some unopened product is opened to a much greater degree than others, right? And generally speaking, there's just more of some unopened product than others, right? So for example, the market right now, I would say anything 1979 and later. So 1979 tops, 1980 tops, 1981 tops, and everything past that point, the market is very soft right now. Now's a good time to buy. I think now's a very good time to buy, and prices could dip more, but I think right now there are some real deals to be had, at least in the long term, right? In the long term. And so, for example, Robert Edward Auctions, they had their October Encore auction that ended on October 23rd, two days ago now, and there were some nice deals on there for a lot of product that was 1979 and later. And I actually purchased a lot of 1979 top cello packs for maybe a little bit more than I wanted to pay, but still a very fair price, a very reasonable price overall. And I think that there were a lot of products in that auction, again, 1979 and later, that went for very, very reasonable prices. And in the past, a lot of people were priced out of the unopened market, right? Especially at the peak, that we saw in the first half of 2020. A lot of people were priced out. Might be a good time to try to enter this market, or if you have the desire to collect unopened, right? Forget putting aside the investment, right? Because I think it's just as risky to invest in unopened as it is to invest in any other sports cards. There's no surefire investment. There's no surefire way to make money, because these are pieces of cardboard, right? And so that's important to keep in mind. But ultimately, now might be a good time to buy if you're looking to pick up some items for your collection at a reasonable price. So I think it's a good time to be a collector if you're not concerned necessarily about the long-term value of unopened. That this would be a good time. This would be a good time to buy. Because of course, I mean, all markets fluctuate, right? That's just the nature. That's just the nature of markets, and the prices will go back up eventually, right? But I think one of the big factors that's driving the current market is the point that I brought up earlier, and it's just the fact that collectors have realized that there's just still a lot of unopened material out there for 1979 and forward, right? Even I think the market for 1978 tops is still a bit soft in some respects. But then when you get into the mid 70s, that's where I think the market is as strong as it's ever been, right? Especially if you have Hall of Fame players showing packs. So 1975 Topps rack packs with Nolan Ryan showing, or Robin Yount showing, or George Brett showing. Those types of items, right? Those are at the market, and the demand for these items is as much as ever before, if not greater potentially. And so I think it's important to understand that there's different sides to this market, right? And there's still a lot of demand for these Hall of Fame packs, for these star packs. But it is so if you felt priced out of this market in the past, I think we're nowhere near a place where 1975 Topps rack packs are suddenly going to be less than $1,000 or $1,200. We're nowhere near where a star pack with a 75 rack with George Brett on top will never be, a $2,000 pack or a $2,500 pack. Those days are long gone. And that's important to keep in mind. So if you're looking for a way to break into collecting unopened, and you're trying to find an affordable era or a time period to focus on, I definitely think 1978 and later, or 1979 and later, because there's just more of it out there. The demand is lower, and you can get some cool packs for not as much money as they were running a few years ago. So that's just something to keep in mind. What's your goal here for your collection, right? What's your budget, and what can you reasonably purchase? But for if you're an 80s unopened collector, it's a great time. It's a great time to pick up some items, and you may be able to really pick up some items at prices that you may be shocked at how cheap some of them are. And not always, right? And again, there's still high. There was a rack pack that went the other night at Robert Edward Auctions. There was a rack pack that was an 81 Topps, and it had Harold Baines rookie on top. I think that it was also had Ozzie Smith showing on the back. So a dual Hall of Famer 81 rack, and it went. I lost. I think I bid $60 or $65, and it went for substantially more. I think maybe $20 or $25 more for Harold Baines rookie rack. So I mean, not to pick on Harold Baines, right? That's not the point of this. It's just to demonstrate that there are still items that sometimes the hammer price is surprising, even though it's a year that isn't in quite as high of demand as some of the much scarcer, harder to find items from the mid 70s. And so there's still a lot of really a lot of great items from the 80s that are very affordable. And we're not talking necessarily junk wax era, 81 Topps, 82 Topps, 83 Topps. It's tough to say for certain when the junk wax era officially starts. Is it 86? Is it 84? Has that changed over time? What constitutes the junk wax era? For me, it's 1986 and later. So, I mean, 81 to 85 is very affordable, and the market is down. And those are years. All of those years have some awesome rookies that are possible to get showing on top of cello packs or on top of rack packs or what have you. And now may be a good time to purchase some of those items. 83 Topps racks with Tony Gwynn showing. I don't know if necessarily if the market's down that much for that type of item, but this could be an opportunity to pick such an item up for at least $50 less than you would have 6 months ago, or $100 less potentially than you would have 6 months ago to a year ago, right? So there are still deals to be had, and prices are. I think you can pick up nice items for reasonable prices. Is essentially what I'm trying to say. But all the other stuff, right? Anything 70 earlier than 1978, you're going to have to be prepared to pay a premium if you're looking to pick up some of these items. That's just the fact of the matter, and it's the nature of unopened, right? It's the scarcest stuff. It's the stuff that's in highest demand, and so to me, that's very very much a cut point, right, for those of us that collect unopened. 1977 and earlier is really where the market is still not only as strong as possible, but maybe even stronger than ever before. So that's what I have for you today. Just just wanted to do a video about this because, or an episode about this for the podcast, because it's important to try to keep in mind that market conditions determine what collectors can do. It's not just for those with an investor mindset, right? A down market is good if you're a collector because you can get more bang for your buck. So with that, I hope you all have a great week, and thank you for listening. Thanks for the support. I appreciate all of you. Keep collecting vintage open baseball. Take care of each other.